I got a text tonight that changed everything. My girlfriend Kara was supposedly out with a friend. And then she typed 4 words that froze me in place. I'm at your ex's place. Then came the kicker. Deal with it. My stomach dropped.
Leah, my ex was someone Kara hated from day one.
She had a way of rolling her eyes whenever I mentioned her, accusing me of still caring. And now, my girlfriend was there, sending me a taunting message like it was a game. I called immediately. No answer. Texted why. Nothing. Just the buzzing silence of my phone and my own pulse pounding in my ears. For a full minute, I just stared at the screen. I felt something I didn't expect. Calm. Not panic. Not anger. Like the moment right before you walk through a storm, you know you can handle. So I typed back 1 word. Okay, then I got up. Walked to the bedroom. Looked at her stuff. Her jackets hung neatly on the chair. Her shoes were by the door. That half-empty box of her favorite mint tea sat on the counter. Everything she owned looked like it had no business being here anymore. I grabbed 2 boxes, started packing. Carefully. No anger, no music blaring, just methodical folding. Her clothes first, then shoes, small trinkets, and finally, the tea. Every item packed with a kind of quiet finality. By midnight, the boxes were in my car. Driving to Leah's apartment felt like a symbolic gesture. Not revenge, not pettiness, just a statement. She decided to treat my life like a joke, so I would respond in kind. When I reached her building, I carried the boxes to Leah's door and placed them neatly. 2 boxes of Kara's belongings, her life with me, packed and delivered exactly where she claimed to be. I texted Kara, your stuff's waiting for you. At his door, no anger, just truth. I got back in my car, rolled down the window, and let the night air wash over me. For the first time in months, I felt something close to freedom. As I drove home, one thought echoed in my mind. She told me to deal with it, so I did. The next morning, sunlight hit my face like a reminder that life didn't stop for anyone's games. My apartment was silent, almost unnaturally so. No buzzing phone, no frantic texts, just quiet, and the lingering scent of her perfume fading into nothing. I brewed coffee, sat by the window, and let my thoughts wander. Kara and I had been together for 2 years. 2 years of laughter, inside jokes, shared weekends. I loved her in ways I hadn't expected. But love isn't always enough, especially when the other person treats it like a game. It wasn't always like this. In the beginning, she was thoughtful. She remembered little things, my favorite snack, my weird quirks, the way I liked my coffee. But the small tests started soon after. Flirty comments to friends just to see my reaction. Accidental messages left on read. Little digs about my ex Leah, always framed as jokes. I ignored them. Told myself I was overreacting. I told myself love required patience. But Kara had a talent for pushing boundaries without ever seeming cruel, and tonight had proven it. I remembered the night she first mentioned Leah with that sly smirk, like it was some secret challenge. I laughed it off then, thinking I was being insecure. But the pattern was clear now. She enjoyed the thrill of control of watching someone react. And tonight her text wasn't just a joke, it was the culmination of months of manipulation. She wasn't testing me to see if I cared. She was testing if she could make me react, if she could assert dominance over my life in a single sentence. I sat at the table, tracing the rim of my coffee mug, thinking about how far we'd come and how little trust had survived. My mind kept circling back to her words, deal with it, as if she'd given me a choice, knowing I wouldn't argue. Then came the realization, I did have a choice. I could let her back in, excuse this as a mistake, pretend everything was normal. Or I could stop giving her chances to manipulate me. I could reclaim my peace. The thought made my chest feel lighter. Strange how a simple act of detachment could feel like liberation. I stood up, walked through the apartment, and noticed the little traces of her life, the towel she'd left on the rack, the half-used toothpaste. Each small item reminded me of her presence, her ability to occupy my space and my thoughts. But not anymore. Something inside me shifted. I wasn't angry. I wasn't devastated. I was ready. Ready to see this through, to set boundaries, to show her that games had consequences. And as the sunlight stretched across the floor, I knew tonight wouldn't be quiet. Something was about to break. That evening, I'd convinced myself to stay calm. But calm doesn't last forever when someone you trusted treats your life like a stage for their games. Kara had crossed a line, and I could feel the tension building like a storm ready to break. Around 8 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was her. "Can we talk? Please." My thumb hovered over the reply, but I didn't respond. Talking wasn't going to fix months of manipulation disguised as love. I paced my apartment, running through every test she had ever set up. The playful flirting with friends, the sly comments about Leah, the accidental arguments designed to see if I'd panic. Each memory pushed me closer to one conclusion. I needed action, not words. Then I remembered the boxes in my car. Her things. The quiet, deliberate act of packing her life and delivering it to her chosen destination. A small smile formed on my lips. The night she wanted to play games, I'd already played the game better. I called a friend to make sure everything was covered. No one had to witness what came next. I wasn't violent. I wasn't cruel. I wanted clarity, finality, and consequences she couldn't argue with. Moments later, I heard a knock at the door. Light, tentative, predictable. Kara had arrived, probably hoping my silence meant I'd cave. I opened the door just a crack. "It's late," I said calmly. Her eyes widened. I just want to explain." I shook my head. "You already did enough explaining to yourself, didn't you? Telling me to deal with it tonight was your explanation. You wanted me to react. I did. I chose calm. And now, it's time for consequences." Her voice trembled. It's extreme. I didn't mean to text from my ex's place. Didn't mean to manipulate me. Didn't mean to treat love like a game." I held up my hand. "It doesn't matter what you meant. It matters what you did." She took a step back, eyes flicking nervously toward the boxes. "You've packed everything." I nodded. "Everything." "At his door, your choice, your outcome." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. She sputtered apologies, tried reasoning, tried charm. None of it worked. I could see the realization sink in. The control she thought she had was gone. I closed the door slowly, leaving her in the hallway. Not screaming, not angry, just the echo of her footsteps retreating. As I leaned against the door, I realized this was bigger than a single betrayal. It was months of manipulation, revealed in one text, and finalized in one deliberate action. And somewhere down the hall, Kara realized something too. When you treat love like a game, the other person eventually changes the rules. No. The next morning, I woke to silence again, but this time it was charged. I knew Kara wasn't done. People like her never just walked away when their control slipped. I sipped my coffee slowly, thinking about the chaos I'd already set in motion. Around 7:30 a.m., a furious pounding shook the door. She was back. I didn't rush. I let it continue, listening to the panic in her voice. "Open up. It's me, please." I leaned against the wall, calm as a still lake. "Your key doesn't work anymore," I said. She froze, then fumbled with the handle. Click, click, nothing. I heard her exhale, a mix of disbelief and fear. I just want to explain," she shouted, voice breaking. I opened the door a crack, just enough to show I wasn't backing down. "You explained when you sent that text. You told me to deal with it." "I did." Her lips trembled. "It wasn't what you think, Leo," she called me. "We just ran into each other and I wanted to be polite." I didn't. I held up a hand. "You went there to test me. That's what this was. Not politeness, not coincidence. A test. A game. And games have consequences." She stepped closer, voice pleading. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I shook my head. "You didn't mean to hurt me, or you didn't care if you did. There's a difference." Tears ran down her cheeks. She tried reasoning, bargaining. I listened silently. It's not because I was softening, but because I wanted her to feel the weight of her choices. Finally, she whispered, almost to herself, I thought you'd fight for me." I paused. That line felt like the final straw. Let it sink in. "I did fight for us every single time. You tested me. But tonight I stopped fighting your games. I fought for myself instead." Her shoulders slumped. The fight drained from her body. She realized the control she thought she had over my emotions was gone. I closed the door gently, leaving her in the hallway with her own realization. The boxes of her belongings sat in Leah's doorway, The ultimate statement. No yelling, no threats. Just quiet, deliberate closure. I leaned back against the door, exhaling. This wasn't vengeance for one text. It was months of manipulation coming to a head. I had drawn a line, and she had crossed it. The hallway outside was empty now. No banging, no shouting, just the echo of her retreating footsteps. And for the first time, I felt the clarity I'd been chasing for months. When someone treats love like a game, the turning point isn't them winning it, you're refusing to play. The next few days were surreal. Kara didn't call. She didn't text. She didn't show up. It was almost peaceful, but I knew that silence was temporary. People like her don't vanish quietly. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I ignored it. A minute later, it was her again. You're overreacting. Everyone makes mistakes. I stared at the message, then laughed softly. Everyone. Everyone deliberately plays with someone's emotions for months. Not everyone thinks testing love is entertainment. Typed back carefully. Everyone doesn't play games with people who love them. Seconds later, the typing bubble appeared, vanished. Then came another text. So you're just going to throw everything away? I didn't reply. Instead, I posted a photo of the new lock on my apartment door, captioned, "Peace tastes better than tea." It felt petty, yes, but it was satisfying in a quiet, final way. Later that day, Leah reached out unexpectedly. "For what it's worth, I didn't know she'd message you like that." "Sorry," she wrote. Her words shocked me. The woman I had once loved, now the calmest voice in this chaos? She told me Kara had tried to justify her actions to her, claiming she wasn't threatened by me. But Leah said Kara had quickly grown defensive, arguing, twisting stories, and even trying to make Leah feel guilty. I thanked her. It was strange. The clarity from my ex, the one I hadn't spoken to in a year, was sharper than anything Kara had ever offered. After that, I blocked Kara on everything calls, texts, social media, email. No grand gestures, no dramatic confrontations. Silence was the final boundary I had to set. Yet, as much as I tried to enjoy my new calm, part of me knew she wasn't finished. People like Kara need a reaction, a stage, an audience, and the quiet. It only meant she was winding up for another attempt. Sure enough, a week later, my phone buzzed again. This time, a simple text. "Still drinking your morning tea?" I didn't reply. Instead, I walked to the kitchen, brewed my own cup, and stared out the window. The city moved on. Life went on. And I realized something vital. Her attempts to pull me back weren't about fixing anything. They were about control. I'd already reclaimed mine. That night, I sat alone, sipping coffee, reflecting on the chaos I'd walked through. Betrayal, manipulation, and tests of love, they all ended the same way, when you finally stop playing by someone else's rules. I didn't know if she'd ever understand, or if she even cared to. But one thing was certain. I was free, and nothing she sent or said could change that. And as I closed my laptop, a small part of me smiled at the irony. The games were over. I had dealt with it. And for the first time, I didn't have to pretend anything else mattered. Weeks passed, and Kara faded from my life like a storm that had run its course. No calls, no texts, no messages on social media. Her absence was strange at first, quiet, heavy, but it quickly became a relief. I started noticing things I'd ignored for months. Mornings without tension. Evenings without passive-aggressive comments or tests. Meals without arguing over nothing. The apartment felt like mine again. My peace wasn't empty, it was earned. Friends noticed it too. They commented on how calm I seemed, how I finally smiled without checking my phone every 5 minutes. For the first time, I realized how much energy I had spent tiptoeing around someone else's manipulation. Leah even checked in once more, casually, almost like a bridge to the life I'd once known. We laughed about Kara's antics in disbelief, realizing together just how absurd it had all been. And somehow, that absurdity made it lighter, easier to release. I reflected a lot during that time, not on anger, not on regret, but on boundaries, respect, and self-worth. I learned that love isn't about enduring someone else's games. It's about being with someone who values you without testing your patience or your integrity. Kara's actions had consequences. And those consequences weren't just about her losing access to my life. They were about me reclaiming control I hadn't realized I'd ceded. And yet it wasn't vindictive. I didn't relish her absence. I simply accepted it. Accepted that some people can't meet you halfway. And that's okay. Some doors close for good reason. Months later, a text from an unknown number popped up. My heart didn't race. I didn't check. I knew immediately it wasn't something I needed. Peace wasn't fragile. It was fortified. Sometimes I think about the night she texted from my ex's apartment. The adrenaline, the anger, the deliberate calm I forced myself to feel. It all felt cinematic at the time, larger than life. But the truth is, it wasn't about drama. It was about drawing a line and refusing to cross it again. I smile now thinking about that, not because I won, but because I finally understood the most important part of any relationship. Self-respect. Kara's games are over. Right. My life isn't hers to manipulate. And in the quiet moments of my apartment, sipping coffee and watching sunlight spill across the floor, I realized something simple but profound. Sometimes peace isn't silence. It's walking away and never looking back.